Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. We are back for another week, and well, a lot of things have happened. We had Singapore, which was a very interesting tournament, and there's some stories from Singapore I think we're gonna probably hear. There was, I don't know, some policy change that came up that a few people might have heard of that we'll probably get to at some point. I won my local ProQuest. Our Pro Tour. I'm going to say our 2.5K that we had.
Just
It
both
was,
statements were false. You corrected
yeah,
yourself to the more false statement.
yep. No, no. If you've been around, I've been calling this the local Pro Tour. While everyone was gone in Singapore, it was great. There's
That's a real
2.5K. I'll
thing.
talk about that. It was actually pretty sick because they're going to end up doing a 5K next, which is pretty exciting.
I hope it's
So
not a request.
yeah, I hope it's also not a ProQuest. The Before we get to all that, though, we did have both you, Lucas, and Noah go to Singapore. You are back after 20 something hour flights both ways. How do you guys feel? Lucas, I'll go with you. How was your tournament? How do you feel? How was Singapore?
Yeah, it was good. I had a lot of fun. This was kind of a unique pro tour. It was pretty small. Obviously, there was only 380 players. It was on like a resort island, so basically all of the stuff was kind of in the same place, and there was really good food. There was, I'm sure a lot of people saw online. There was the beach party on Sunday, which was a lot of fun to go to. Um, and yeah, so my tournament. I played Verdance. I think she was a pretty reasonable choice. I think there were some plans that might have been better into some of the decks, but I think all of the plans that I did have were pretty reasonable. I felt like my Gravy matchup was not amazing, but fine, and then most of my other matchups felt pretty solid. Um, I Day one, I won the first game against Victor, and then I ended up finishing CC 3-2, losing to a Slippy in a very long fatigue game. I actually had two Slippies in a row on day one, basically just try and block out all the damage I was sending at them and trying to fatigue me. Against the first person, it did not go well. I just pitch stacked a pretty clean rampant growth turn and killed them. And then against the second opponent, we got down to like basically no cards in deck. He was about where my kill range was, but he had a bonds that I decided to call his bluff on, and he did not, or he did call my bluff, excuse me, and he had enough reacts to turn it on, and so he took my last rampant growth and got me. But then my other loss was to Michael Hamilton in a pretty close game. Obviously, he was playing Gravy. I was just a few health off from keeping the like big combo turn at the end to kill him. And then I ended up 3-0ing my draft on day one. I drafted a Conqueror of the High Seas, which is the first time I've done that. That was pretty sweet. It definitely helped a lot in one of my games, and then the other two games it blocked three and was a little bit of overkill, but obviously is still a very very powerful card. I drafted Gravy. I was one of three Gravies, I believe, but my deck was pretty sweet. Had full armor and everything, so it was a pretty easy 3-0. And then the next day, I drafted Gravy again. I thought my deck was okay. I ended up making a mistake in my first round of draft against Puffin. I took an aggressive line that let them get gold early, and then they proceeded to just dumpster me with Goldwing Turbine and Perk Up back to back. So that was definitely a mistake. So I think that loss was on me. And then I played against two Marlins who, again, just tried to fatigue me. That's all weekend. I was just playing against people just trying to fatigue me in both draft and in CC. And one of them ended up getting there. So I won 2'd my second draft. And then CC day two, I ended up going, it was 4 rounds. I believe I went 2-2. I lost to two DOs, being Alan Lau and Alex Chitu. So I think that matchup is already a bit tricky for Verdance, but they just dumpstered me, just very, very quickly dispatched me. So I ended up going X6. So I wasn't the happiest with the result, but I played a lot of really good games, and most of my losses I felt like were things that I could improve on in the future, and just kind of things that I felt like I played a good game. I maybe made a few mistakes, and my opponents were able to punish me. I did end up cashing though. I got 57th, so I got that $900 that I did not have before. And yeah, that was my tournament. Looking forward to the next one. I just want to play more Flesh and Blood. I feel like I was playing better than most of the people at the tournament. I felt like I was in that range to be able to do well. But if you want to have consistency at the top level, you kind of have to not let anything slip through the cracks, literally. So
I felt like all weekend the Verdance players are like a step behind most of the Gravy players. Like the Gravy players readjusted, and the Verdance players just like they went from a matchup that felt more winnable on the Verdance side to like
they
didn't have a good plan.
Nobody had real plans. Like every Verdance player I talked to was like, "Yeah, you like do this thing, and it works sometimes." And I'm like, if it works sometimes in your testing, you're just gonna get dumpstered by these people at this tournament. And that was, I believe, what happened to basically everybody I talked to. I felt like my Gravy plan was okay. I beat Evan Herndon, although that was a bit of a non-game. I just got quite lucky. He had a really bad start. But it definitely felt like the strategy that I had was at least competent, whereas some people just like throwing some evergreens in their deck and trying to fatigue them was maybe not the strategy they hoped.
I was a little disappointed by the Verdance players. Are a little, I think, behind in that matchup than what they had talked about, though, to be fair. And then also the much more aggressive Gravy deck with Ley Lines, which has been around for a while. They didn't seem to have like a good plan for that either.
Yeah.
And now that you're going to put, I think, at least when I went to my tournament, there were a couple of Verdances there that had brought a lot more fatigue stuff in to try and beat those versions that had come out.
Mm-hmm.
But the Gravies, once again, had changed the deck just enough to put a couple of Whalers in to fix that issue of the Team Armory deck version that can actually be fatigued sometimes. They had put a couple Whalers in, and so like it was just like another cycle of Verdance being behind, which is, it's tough because Gravy can adjust, so much of like guessing what version is going to show up or what version you're playing into.
Yeah.
Cool. Noah, you played Slippy. I like this deck a lot. But how was your experience? I was definitely cheering you on after I saw your day one and everything else. But
hi everyone, I'm Noah. I'm also a member of the Runaways podcast. I'm glad that Lucas and Cody could fill in the time slot that Dan would also normally occupy with their ramblings here at the start.
It's only been 7 minutes of rambling.
Yeah,
you got all this time.
It's a sufficient amount of time. Sure. Yeah. My vocal cords are nice and crusty after waiting.
All this just to talk about how he didn't cash. By the way,
I will talk about not only how I didn't cash, but how I incinerated my wallet. Okay, so yeah, my journey starts before the tournament a little bit. Lucas is laughing because Lucas doesn't book hotels for tournaments. He just messages the Discord 1 week before and says, "Hey, who am I staying with?" So I'm like, "Hey, yeah, sure. I have
for this
I have like a reservation where it's just me right now. The other person I was going to stay with isn't going anymore, so you can join my room. It's all good." Little did I know it was not all good. So yeah, my travel starts. My first flight gets canceled, and we kind of have a little like superstitious thing where when bad luck is happening before the tournament, usually it means that good luck will be happening in the tournament. So I'm kind of like, whenever I have like flight or travel issues, I'm like thinking, okay, maybe this is a blessing. I'm getting all the bad luck out early. So yeah, my flight gets canceled. I get rebooked on a different flight. I learn that the world is round. I used to travel to Vancouver and to Singapore, like going west. Now I'm going through Zurich to Singapore, going east. I get to my hotel eventually, and I give dude the passport, and he has a puzzled look on his face. And this is never a good sign when you're in a foreign country by yourself, and they have puzzled looks on their faces. And they speak English perfectly well there, so there was no problem with communication. And he asked me for my confirmation email. Then he hands me back my phone with a confirmation email showing the date of my hotel reservation begins on July 22nd. Now, an astute viewer may notice that that is not the day I was in Singapore.
That
that
was
is
yesterday, actually.
that is one, yeah, 1 week later, maybe 2 days ago at the time that this is posted. Um, so I was scrambling, to say the least. I eventually was able to find there was one much fancier resort that had available bookings. So I ended up paying about 2.5x what I was paying originally. But Lucas and I were staying in the the mansion with jacuzzi outside, outdoor like patio shower areas, very fresh accommodations. Hotel and breakfast accommodations all free. You just pay infinite money for it up front. So I was like, okay, more bad luck. This is good. This is good. I'm looking on the bright side. Uh, then we start the tournament. Round one, I get paired into the chair. I'm like, okay, dude, this is my tournament. I got the round one bye. Like, things can only go up for here. Next round, I pair into Kano. I get there with 3-turn game. All 3 turns, I used my dagger because I had flick, concealed blade. Game's over. It was awesome. I play into 2 Verdances, beat both of those, and then I play into a Slippy Mirror, and he makes a mistake. That's like, if you've played the Slippy Mirror a lot, which I did leading into this tournament, you kind of like know when you want to do a certain action. I don't want to leak the goo, but there's like one hallmark. If you make a play like this, I'm like, okay, I think I have like a decent shot to win this, even though he had kind of a good start, bonzing me 3 turns in a row. So I get there, and then before the draft starts, we have a little sit down with Naib. So I'm 5-0. I think we have Naib is 4-1. He just lost the last round heading into this. I don't know if anybody else on the team was doing well enough to be in this same pod as us. But we basically tell Naib, all right, put your head down and force Marlin.
Because Naib has never drafted this set. Like maybe like 3 to 5 times.
Yeah, well, he at Nats he went 1-5.
Yeah, draft. Like Naib has, and obviously the story goes, yeah,
I'll continue. So Naib went 1-5 at draft and Nats. This is important. So I'm like trying to coach Naib before the thing, thinking I'm not going to be in the same pod because I'm 5-0, he's 4-1. It would be unlikely that we happen to get paired in the same pod, but of course we do. And then I start having these like bad thoughts in my head of, oh, he's like 1 seat away from me, like there's one person in between us. I don't also want to go Marlin because we just told him to put his head down and force Marlin. And my seat is basically one that in the early picks could vacillate between Puffin and Marlin. And I decide to, because of this stupid knowledge I had beforehand, go with the Puffin angle. Turns out our pod ends up being Naib as the solo Marlin. There's 3 Puffins, 4 Gravies. So obviously Naib 3-0s. And here's where my luck just goes downhill. I've never 0-3 to draft at any rated event, at least as far as I know. I can go back and look at if there was like RTNs or something, but as far as I know, I've never 0-3 to draft, and yeah, I can no longer say that. So Naib completely stole all my draft lucky 3-0'd, but I'm 5-3 at this point, so I'm like, Cody is sending reassuring messages in the Discord saying, every X3 will make it. There may even be one X4 that gets in there, which there didn't end up being. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play day 2. Surely it won't happen again. And it did not happen again, but it happened about as close as close as you can get. So yeah, I won 2 day 2, and Naib 2-1. So we literally just like inverted our draft from Nats, where I went 5-1, he went 1-5, and then yeah, we swapped that around. So it was good for him, but yeah, quite a poor showing for me in limited. Definitely got punished for basically just leveraging most of the time to practice CC, figuring that my prep from Nats for draft, where I focused primarily on draft, would carry over, and it did not. There was obviously some unfortunate parts that happened during the game, but at the end of the day, it's my fault for not having adequate practice. So yeah, ended the tournament like 8-7, I think. Still did good in CC, like 7-2 CC, but obviously you're not going to do anything when you start 0-3 in draft.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough draft run. It's really, I don't know, it's really frustrating when stuff like that happens in your first pod, where you accidentally get information you shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like anytime that's ever happened in my, like, I have the worst, like, luck after that. Like, it's like you get punished for that information existing. is how I always feel about it. So that's pretty unfortunate. That
Yeah.
like that had impact over the pod when it's like you never intend for it because you don't expect to be in the same pod
Yeah,
because you have
exactly.
two different scores. Like, yeah, if you think someone's going to be in your pod, you just never have those conversations so you can actually draft the game like normal. And then like that kind of sucks. I didn't know about that part
Oh yeah, I
of the
completely owned
bad luck.
myself. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
um,
Other than that, you played Slippy.
yeah,
How did you feel about the deck? You said like 7-2. How's your
yeah,
gravy matchups?
yeah. I just played like a bunch of mirrors and wizards. There was one highlight. It was very nice getting my mojo back on day 2. I beat a prism at 39, and you'll note Slippy starts the game at 38.
Yep.
So yeah, so that was fun. Just like draw exactly one popper and pressure every single turn. Um, Lost to Florian, which makes sense because I beat so many Slippies as Florian in the past, so it's deserved. And then lost to Mario in the last round, who just completely owned me. Um, but yeah, I would just keep playing the deck going forward. Like it feels so smooth. It's like you're playing a Syndra, like where you're just throwing head jabs, but every head jab is masked because they can't let any of them hit. And you also have way more tricks. And you just have like ignorant plays. Like Syndra has basically Wrath of Retribution is like her silly play, whereas you have like Bonds, Justin Nick Prog, Mantle into more Bonds, Codex. It just like you just have so many silly cards that yeah, I'm a huge fan of that deck, and I think right now it's basically like you're playing either Gravy or Slippy are like the only real decks to play for. Like Kansas City, I think is the next major.
Yep.
Or I guess there's the calling in Auckland, the CC part.
Yep. I went to a 2.5K that was semi-local. It was like a hour 50 minutes away. It was hosted by Brainwash Cards and Games, which I'd never been to the store before. So I thought that was cool that they were trying to host a tournament while, for everyone who didn't go to Singapore. Uh, I had no idea what I wanted to play. I wanted to play every deck in the format because like I think the format's actually really nice. It's like pretty good. I wanted to play Gravy, but I was like, I don't have the reps to be comfortable where I want it to be, to bring it to the event. And then I was like sleeving up Verdance, and I'm like, this is just the dumbest idea I've ever had. I have like 25 Verdance games. Why am I even thinking about sleeving this up? And so I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to play Slippy. And then I'm like going through, I'm building the Slippy deck, and I'm just like, I can't find this card. I can't find that card. You know what? I'm just gonna make a toolbox Slippy deck that I think will work that like doesn't have these cards in it. Like I'm like I can't find my yellow shreds, so I'm just gonna run like one red shred, one blue shred. That's good. That's like the same thing, right?
Combine them together.
It equals out to two yellows. And I think I've played like 5 Slippy games because I just have not engaged in this cycle very much. It was like actually a kind of a nice break the first time since I started playing the game that I've had this long of a break. So I show up to the event. Event was like 50 people, which is pretty sweet. And I think the room was legitimately, this is not an exaggeration, legitimately 50% Gravy. There were like 20 something Gravy players in the room. It was ridiculous. There was one Syndra that showed up. Like this is like no one came here to play that. I think we had, a handful of Slippies, a handful of Marios, which I wasn't happy to see. But luckily I dodged them all. And I just sat down. I played, 6 rounds. I played 4 Gravies over the course. I happened to get there in all of them. I ended up getting second at the event, taking home like $500, which was pretty sweet. The store said since it showed up, it did so well that they're going to host a 5K next, in that area, which is in York, PA, which is pretty cool. So I got to stay home, won $500. I took that $500 and immediately bought some Riftbound boxes with it, and I was like, I'll have some free Riftbound. So overall, I had a pretty fun weekend, but I was FOMOing pretty bad about everyone in Singapore because I've never not gone to like a major event. So I'm just like, I was like legitimately depressed for a couple of days. I was like, what is going on? Like, why am I not at Singapore playing right now?
Yeah, I think to further make you more depressed, this was probably the best event for like community type stuff. Like the energy in the room for the feature match, it was like 8 people deep watching. Like people were like jumping over each other's shoulders to watch, and then you literally like could feel your head pounding from all the cheers and screaming when the Singaporean won from like all the hometown stuff. It was like a really cool. We were playing some Blood on the Clock Tower as well with like a bunch of people who like I would never see normally, just like literally from 4 different continents playing a game together. It's pretty cool.
So originally I had sat down and I drug out just a pile of stats from Singapore to talk about. Like officially, I think we can say Gravy's win rate into Syndra is like 40%. Like it's like official 40%. You can't argue that you're favored into Syndra anymore. Like this has been proven out, and I had like data and stuff for this, right? But then all of a sudden, this thing got released yesterday that has, I think, thrown all of FAB into a tizzy. And there's like, I don't know, it's worse than I think a lot of things that happen, because it's been, at first it was like I thought everyone was on one side, on the same side, right? And then I went to the worst place that you can go to, which is X.
Horrible.
And horrible idea. And then I was seeing just takes from the other side, but they were getting like angrier and angrier about people from one side or another. And I was like, man, this is a pretty divisive issue. So definitely something that I want to talk about. So I'll quit beating around the bush. But the change is, if you win a ProQuest, you cannot play any more ProQuests. As simple as that. Like starting in this next season, if you go to a ProQuest tournament,
not necessarily starting in this next season. For ProQuest Yokohama, we can at least pretend and pray that it's
a one season thing. Yeah.
It's a trial, please.
Yeah.
Please, it's a trial.
So for that ProQuest, if you win a ProQuest, you are not allowed to sign up for and play in another ProQuest. It is forbidden.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about positives, I think negatives of this. Couple of takes I have seen is gotten a little wild out there. But I want, so yeah, I'm going to start off, and I want to paint a little bit of a picture of what it's like. Now, to be honest, I don't know how everyone else's ProQuest seasons are. I only know what ProQuest season is like where I live and what I do. So if your ProQuest season does not match this at all, which it probably doesn't, I'm under the impression, at least from the amount of people that I've spoken to, that I'm very lucky how my area operates for like ProQuest season, RTN seasons, etc. And most people, this is not their experience. But for what my experience is, there are 4 ProQuest weeks. There's typically, within a 2-hour radius of me, there will be events that I can go to, essentially 8 events. So 2 every weekend within a 2-hour radius. I'm not talking about flying to a different state. I'm not talking about, having to like stay overnight. Now, sometimes there's been places that were like 3 or 4 hours away that had 2, and then they're like uncapped events. And, I might have in the past driven out and got a hotel room and went to those. I don't have to do that anymore. There's way more stores that are hosting them now. Most of them are capped at like 64 people. Some go above that. You'll be a couple that are at 32. But most events that I go to are like 50 plus people. And quite literally lately, they've been hitting about 64. So I go to about 8 events. There's about 64 people. And every single one of these events is a 1K in store credit. I have not gone to a ProQuest or an RTN that was not a 1K in about 2 years. Almost every single one of them are 1Ks. So these are like rather big events for the community. Like all the stores, people have like a circuit of stores that they go to. So like you'll just, depending on how close you are to an area, because we'll have stores that overlap. So if you're closer to one, you'll go to the other one. But quite often there's just like, there's like 50 people here. You play, you get some store credit, you go to this one, there's like 50 plus people here. Sometimes they're capped at 64 and 64 people show up depending on what the schedule looks like. But these are like really fun events that I go to every season. I typically do win a couple of ProQuests every season, but I top 8, a good handful of them. I get a decent amount of store credit. It's a lot of fun and people all have a good time doing this. So this is like a major thing. Like, and from my local, we'll like pile into like 2 cars and drive out to this event that's, an hour and a half away, which I would still consider pretty local to me, at least in this area. That is considered still like a local store to go to. I mean, we even have stores that I go to that do like raffles between every round, giveaways. They do massive raffles at the end. They have store credit and box giveaways for top 8. Like, our stores are great. They give out a bunch of extra products. So these events for me are like a locals event first and a ProQuest second. To be honest, if you want to talk about Singapore, every event that I went to, there you show up, there's 50 people in the room. Do you know how many of those people want a ProQuest invite or a Pro Tour invite? Like 4 of them, because there's only like 4 out of the 50 plus people who are actually going to go to Singapore. So like, but they're going to every single event, trying to win store credit, trying to do well, trying to beat people who are there, who are like, you know, I'm not trying to like brag in a weird way, but people do like when they beat me. It's fun. You know, they do like when they beat Dan. Dan shows up. Like we have like a bunch of Runaways people who do show up that are, you know, Michael Feng used to be in this area and he would show up, and it was cool when you got to play against Michael Feng as well. It's like a pretty cool community, and you see each other for several weekends out of the year. On top of that, gold foils suck now. Like I don't care at all about gold foils. Like this change really affects me because these are really fun, like 4-week long, like go out, play games with stakes that local stores are pouring their own money into to like hype up for the community and everyone. And like, no one cares about the gold foil because they're worth like $200. Like no one cares about this.
I honestly feel like people would be happier with this change. Not everybody, obviously. It depends on your perspective. Most people that I mean, despite what you'll see on certain social media sites, everybody that I've talked to who is upset about this change, I think would probably agree that they would rather gold foils have been removed from pricing.
Absolutely.
Because that change still has the same goal where, you know, people aren't going to grind every single tournament for gold foils, which is something that people care about. And it just kind of, I mean, Cody, you can keep going on a little bit, but it just feels like surely not the best solution.
Is that really your perception of why they implemented this, was to curb people grinding gold foils?
No, I think it's to allow more people to go to the Pro Tour, right? That's clearly.
Yeah.
Well, it can't be that. Like, let me.
I think that's what it is. I agree. It's not.
Yeah, I think it's implemented very poorly, but I think their intention was so that more people go to the Pro Tour.
Agreed. Cody,
yeah, let me just do a little bit more, and then we'll open it.
Yeah.
We'll just go back and forth after that. So if I for my example is that these are community events from community stores that I have been going to for years at this point. Like for these type of events, we go to all of them. I see people who I only see during ProQuest season. We hang out, we talk. It's a good time. We're playing competitive games. There's like history of people beating other people in different parts of tournaments. There's a lot of people who show up to these events. These are a lot of fun. To say that if I win one, I'm no longer allowed to engage in these stores that are putting on local 1Ks because they're afraid of, one, I'm either going to be stopping people from getting invites, or 2, I'm going to be blocking for teammates to get invites, or 3, eating all the gold foils. 1, don't care about gold foils. Remove them. They're not worth anything. Like they're just kind of a fun little after thing at this point. And they're the worst part of the prizing.
Yeah.
For my area anyway. So like, don't care about farming those. 2, the people who get the invite, I'm going to let everyone on a secret. The people who get the invite to the tournaments are the only handful of people who actually are going to go to the Pro Tour. This is how almost all of them work. If you get in top 8, like because our pricing is so juiced, it's just like you get in the top 8 and half the time it's like, oh, are you trying to go to Singapore? And they're like, I'm going to Singapore if I get the invite. Okay, I'll concede to you. And like, that's going to not change whether I'm there because I've won one or not, because I'm not the one doing that. It's just like the community is doing that because they're aware that like there's only 4 people in the room who want the invite. Everyone else just wants store credit.
It's so much less about the people already having invites splitting. If you're trying to prevent splitting, right? If that's, because I could also see that as being like one of the reasons that they made this change instead of, say, the like other changes that they could make. It feels like this is still just not the way to do that because, like you mentioned, most people who are splitting because they're not going to the tournament.
Correct.
Like the people who are splitting are for the most part not for the most part, right? Obviously, you know, if you are just the only person who ever makes the finals of your tournaments, then
and to be fair, like I said, I can only talk about how my area works. We do not have one person who wins everything. I do top 8 most of the events that I go to, but I don't win. I get knocked out often enough, or there's like a scoop to let someone who's, again, not a teammate, not someone I know, but someone who's just like, they got top 4. They're the only one out of the 4 who actually wants the invite. And it's just like, okay, push them up to get the invite. Like but that would happen whether I was there or not.
I think people like largely have a pretty big misconception of teams. Like almost every actual competitive team in FAB is like dispersed throughout the world. It's not like we have, team Pennsylvania where we have like every Runaways member goes to every single like one of these things. It's like maybe 2 of us live local enough to go to a thing. The other like teams you're referring to are just like local groups of people who are friends that have no like, they're just friends because you, like you said, Cody, they've been playing at the same ProQuest for like years now. Like there's so many people who I see like during RTN and ProQuest season because they go to Armory that's an hour and a half away. So I'm not going to like go to that Armory, but I go to the store for the larger event because it's like a community driven thing where we all decide that it's like, okay, LSS says here's a season where you get to play like this competitive event at a local store. So let's like have everybody go participate in those because it's fun to be competitive without the burden of having to fly around the world.
It also just like doesn't feel that competitive. Like it doesn't feel like the tournaments being competitive is as much of a priority if this change gets made is how it feels to me. Like this is, I'm not saying that necessarily they are, saying these aren't competitive events anymore, but it is a change that pushes them in that direction, right? It's more like, okay, this event is less competitive than it was before, right? Like if you're going to the Pro Tour, you don't have to be as good. Like that's just the fact, right? Like if you're in an area where there's, I mean, even let's say you're in an area where there's 2 strong players, right? There's like 2 very strong players who do well at everything, and they both, are there. Like it's kind of strange to me that your obstacle to get to the Pro Tour is gone now. Like LSS, it's not like an obstacle that they put that made it practically hard for it. You just had to beat some people that are going to be at the event that you're supposed to qualify for. So it just kind of feels weird that the qualification for the Pro Tour is no longer having to win all the games against the good players in your region.
I mean, I understand that argument. I just like don't care about it because it's like not real. Like almost no one who wins their invite to Pro Tour is beating the best people in the room anyway. It's almost like 90-something% are scoops to like get someone an invite.
I know there are some people though who just always play it out and who do. There are definitely regions where people are gate kept by certain people. Yeah. Like, if you win 9 ProQuests or whatever in a row, like,
no, I think it's a little bit different than that. I think the way we're framing this in a very positive light, where we're saying like you mentioned, Cody, that there's only 4 people in the room who are going to actually go to the place, right?
Yeah.
Like they're actually going to go to attend the Pro Tour. But imagine you like, shine a red light, make it all like negative connotation. If there's only 4 people who are going to make it, but I'm just like some random person who like, this is my first time making top 8. I know I'm not going to go to the Pro Tour, but then all these other people who have done this a lot of times before tell me, oh, this person is going to go to the Pro Tour. Like they can kind of feel bullied since it's like you're minimizing them for saying, oh, you're not actually going to go to the Pro Tour. So like, why would you not concede to let this person get the invite because they're actually going to go?
Sure, but this doesn't change that at all. This has no impact on that.
Agreed. Existing. Yeah, I think this change doesn't actually, like what Cody is saying is that all of these like negative, maybe predatory, if you look at it that way, or just in general, like bad taste in mouth splits are just still gonna happen. Like this maybe changes a few regions' ability to have a few players gatekeep these invites, but you could. I mean, the elephant in the room is why the hell can the invites not just pass down, right? Because that's what you'll see.
They already passed the second, so this whole time they've been passing to second place.
Yeah, but why do they not just continue to do so? Is what I think a lot of people are asking.
Yeah, I think there are infinitely better solutions, but I think the fact that they are at least exploring this as a solution to that they're aware that a lot of PQs are pretty fake in terms of the results, I think is at least one step in, like, I'm trying to frame it as positively as possible. I think it's at least a good thing that they're aware that the results of the majority of these events are not influenced by just playing games of FAB.
Well,
but this solution, but this solution does not actually promote playing more games of FAB. Like, if anything, this is basically saying, like, if you want to keep playing, you should just concede in week 1, 2, and 3 in the finals or in top 4 or whatever is required, so that you can keep playing more tournaments.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think this change in theory doesn't seem that bad for a lot of people. I think people are kind of not realizing it. I think it's gonna hit really hard for some. At least me. Like, if I go to my first week ProQuest and I'm in the finals, I feel like I'm gonna have like almost like an emotional weight at some point when I like realize I'm not allowed to hang out with my friends for the next 3 weeks, and like realize that I'm not actually allowed to continue playing in this competitive season where there's LL points and there's like prizes and there's camaraderie. Like, I feel like this is people are thinking about it a little bit too generally in my opinion. I think it is a step in the right direction. Like you said, I like that they're trying to solve these issues, but this just like feels terrible. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Imagine,
part of it is because of Flesh and Blood's culture. If you look at something like Magic, I feel like there's less event camaraderie. They're less focused on people having a good time at their local tournaments. But for Flesh and Blood, like a big draw to the game is getting out, being able to play the game at a competitive level, yes, on the local scene. And it's like now for me, it's like, okay, well, armories kind of suck, right? I don't really have time to go to armories. There's not enough justification. Um, okay, ProQuest's Road to Nationals are like the only things where I can go to far events for sure, right? Like things within an hour of me. I'm never going to LGS's otherwise. And even some of my local stores, like that's the only time I get to get out there a lot of the time anyway. And I just don't get to as much now. I almost am being incentivized to lose just so that I can do this. And my guess personally is that this is a change that over time, like we saw in Magic, people are going to be less and less fond of when they just realize that it just feels horrible. I want to play Flesh and Blood. Are you serious? Like you're not letting me play in this damn tournament because I'm already qualified for the thing. It's
there was
also
like
it's
there
also
was already a huge thing in like the judge Discord about like people are gonna play the finals out to see who has the right to concede, and like the judges are already prepared for this to be an eventuality because of this
yeah
rule, which is
yeah
like a complete meme.
yeah what well, and the other thing is it's like it's also so inconsistent. Like, why are the people who are allowed who top 32 the last Pro Tour allowed to play in ProQuests?
Yep, they have invites.
Yeah, what's the problem with that? What about ProQuest pluses? There's two situations. Either ProQuest pluses are different, and you're going to have people who are already qualified playing in real ProQuests, or they're not different, and then it's like, okay, why is I don't know.
There's several aspects I still want to get to with this as well. I think this is going to also people. So maybe you're in an area, maybe there are other areas that are smaller that are just being hard dominated by like one person, right? They're just like running through everyone all the time, and the only way you qualify is to get second place, right? Like, in some of those areas might need some relief from something. That's not my experience. That's not most people's experiences that I talk to, but I'm assuming it's probably out there somewhere. But I know most people's experience in this area is like, we have plenty of ProQuest here that people just randomly spike, that they win this way. And hold on, they won't be allowed to play anymore. Like, I have a bunch of mid-range grinders at my local. Like, at my local, it's a bunch of people who, like, they do go to some major events. They do go to ProQuests and RTNs. They are trying to win tournaments. Yeah, they're not going to everything, but that's, but they're doing more, I think, than most people. And all of these people, some of them have top callings. Some of them, they'll win ProQuests. But it's going to affect these people. When we're all jumping in a van together to go out, they won this one. Usually that's like, oh, sweet, so-and-so won it. Or, hey, we, split finals or whatever the actual thing is. But so-and-so won this event. But now it's just like, oh, next week, you're not allowed to come with us. Like, go do something else.
Go home.
We're all going to go to this tournament. Like,
you can't hang out with them.
They're not like a pro player. They just like, they won an event. It's like a huge accomplishment. Like, but now they can't play the game anymore. They can't go with us. They can't hang out with us anymore. Like, yeah, it's like so weird.
It's like week 1. You've been prepping for ProQuest for like 3 months. You're like trying to get into competitive Flesh and Blood. You finally win your invite to the professional tour. You're excited to play the rest of your month-long ProQuest season, and you're not allowed to hang out with your friends anymore. That's just so sad. That's just depressing.
It's basically just a fundamental difference to how they want to approach ProQuest. Like, they're not viewing it as a season anymore. It's kind of just like you have a bunch of chances to get your invite. Once you do, you're done.
And I think it's honestly, I don't think it's a change that is necessarily an overall negative to the OP system, in that it's like you can't do this to people change. It just is like Flesh and Blood doesn't feel as much like Flesh and Blood. Like, why are you taking away I don't know. It feels to me like, maybe I'm just a boomer, but ProQuest season is one of my favorite parts of Flesh and Blood, RTN season. It's like some of the most fun that I've had playing the game. I think most people have this experience, especially people who can't like travel to huge events. Like, they can't travel around the world, or they don't want to. Like, these events are, I have so many locals who basically they play armories every week. They get really excited to and prepare for ProQuests. And then if they win their ProQuest, they like get very excited, and maybe they go to that event, right? They like take the PTO, they get excited, and they prepare for this event and they go. But those kinds of players, like, it just feels like they don't want to not be able to go to locals, right? They don't want to be stopped and cut short, even if it is something that's important to them going to the event. That's not what they are right now. And so obviously this is a shift in their mentality. I just think it's a shift that goes against the spirit of the game. Yeah. If I wanted to play just like a game that's, for lack of a better way of putting it, like soulless, right? If I wanted to not focus on my community, I would just like go play one of these big IP games. But I love Flesh and Blood because I love playing games in the Flesh and Blood every single week of ProQuest season with my friends. I don't give a shit about gold foils. I don't care how I do. Like, I'm there. I shouldn't say I care how I do enough to play a competitive event, but I don't know.
Also, mine are just different. Mine, like I said before, all of my events are 1Ks. Like, to just be like, you're not allowed to.
I think this is like not super relatable for like.
It might not be, but my point is the stores have discretion on how they run these events. So unless that's also changing on how the stores are allowed to run the event, my events are local events first. And ProQuests are just the reason to get some people in the door, or an excuse to organize the tournament. And so like people are going to all of these to like to win store credit, to win at their local event, or maybe like there's some rivalry between a couple of stores and someone wants to see if they can go spike their event like for fun. It's like a fun way to do it. And like, so these are local events first, ProQuest second, and now you're like trying to strip all that away and just be like, no, this is just a tournament you go to qualify, and that's all you do at this event, and then you go home and never do it again. Like, that's so soulless, so boring.
They're basically just it seems like we're moving backwards in a sense, where if it was always like this and like stores were just
agreed,
like promoted to host 1Ks just because like they should and like it'll attract people, and then ProQuests were just a way of, okay, you show up, like maybe there's 8 ProQuests, you don't necessarily care about pre-regging for all of them, you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna go till I get my invite and then stop going and proceed as normal with like armories or whatever special tournaments my stores want to run. It'd be fine. But we lived in the timeline where like we got to combine both of these into one thing, which was nice. So that's why it's like sad to have it go.
The other thing is that even though obviously like the ProQuest prizing we get is terrible, and it's been terrible forever, like theoretically there's also prizing just like that LSS gives out at these events. And so it's kind of weird that, like, you know, obviously again the prizing is garbage, but if the prizing in the future, if the prizing was not garbage, right, if there was a reason to go to these events other than getting your invite, this obviously would just be a change that does not really facilitate that.
So I'll strip it away. I think we've talked about like how us personally feel a lot about it, but like, so it's believed their intention is to try and get more people invites to ProQuest or to Pro Tours, right? Like that seems to be the idea behind this. And it's like, I understand the step, but it does not accomplish that. The same, like, especially in the US. I don't know how it is other places, but like the last Pro Tours have all been international travel, and they'll continue to be. So like, it was like, so a lot of the people who are going to these tournaments aren't even going to Pro Tours to begin with. So just giving out more invites is not going to get more people to suddenly travel to Europe, unless we're going to have some more Pro Tours in the US. So
I think you
can put that in a bucket.
One caveat is that, like, say for example, you're someone who isn't sure if you can actually win a ProQuest, but you want like the life flag, you know, like you get the card that says I attended a Pro Tour because I earned my invite at some point in my life. I think maybe more of those people end up showing up to these events who, like, maybe they either didn't like some of the people who would always come in and spike the tournament, or they just didn't think that they could win because there was like
I feel like
4 or
it's
5
not.
other people.
I feel like that argument's not super relevant because it's not LSS's job to like protect people from their. I mean, I'm not saying it's
No,
not
I was just
necessarily
talking about the result. Like the result could actually be that more people end up going to Pro Tours because these people
sure.
wouldn't attend ProQuest beforehand, but now they do because they feel like their chances have improved.
I mean, that would indicate that they also win and get the invite, but invites aren't being wasted.
Do we want? I don't know. It's like, is it that important for LSS to attract people who don't really want to go to the Pro Tour and only kind of want to go to the Pro Tour?
But
is that the audience they're targeting? Because that's what I hear when you say something like that.
But also the invites
with
aren't
all due
being
respect,
wasted.
Like I don't care. Like if you don't want to go to the Pro Tour and you're only going because the good players in your region can't go to your ProQuest, it's like why are you there? Like,
Dude,
come on.
To be honest, I'm fine if they just move top 4 get invited to Pro Tours. I don't care about the size of the Pro Tour. Like, I know some people, this is like a big deal. Like, they want the Pro Tours to be like more exclusive or less exclusive or whatever it is. I don't care. If I show up and there's 800 people at the Pro Tour, there's 800 people at the Pro Tour. There's 2,000. I don't care. Just enough rounds to let me play the game to top in a reasonable amount. I just don't care about any of that. So if you want to do all of top 8 gets invites to Pro Tour, I'm fine with that too. But like, so I don't know what the goal is. If you want more people to go to Pro Tour or have a chance to qualify for Pro Tour, just extend the invite further. If you want, or have it passed down, or do any number of things. If you want the tournament to end how it's supposed to end, do you want to know when the tournament ends more often, how it's supposed to end than when it doesn't? When I've already won a Pro Tour, because there's no scooping happening because I'm passing down the invite to second place every time. We actually just play out the games, and then whoever matches into me just gets the invite for free. Like,
it is kind of funny. Yeah. If you've already won a ProQuest, that's when the game is actually real.
That's when it's actually real. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you play the finals, and whoever wins the finals wins the finals. There's no splitting. There's no anything that's happening in the finals. You're just actually playing the game. So the most times I've ever had it resolved is when I've already qualified for the.
I've had the same experience. Yeah. I think the only times I ever like actually play it out is when one of us already has the just like when it doesn't matter, when the invite doesn't matter.
Yeah. I just don't understand what purpose this is serving. Because there's other ways to do it. Just extend it to 4. Just top 4 gets the invite.
It's also strange too, because like you could make the argument of, oh, it's bad like infrastructure, they can't do that, but they literally do it for RTNs. So like I don't get why that would be an argument of like they can't extend the invites down further.
Yeah.
Yep. They could also just be like it passes all the way down. I don't know, pass anywhere.
Yeah.
Passes past
maybe
finals.
Maybe they'll come out with some dev talk or something explaining their reasoning, and we're just completely wrong in our reasoning, and they have some other master plan. Because
I think historically speaking, that's not a good future to bet on. But
well, okay. So let's talk about. There's another aspect to this that I think is a little bothersome. So,
okay,
we have always used ProQuest as like good testing environments as well for decks that we want to play, and we have a full team. Like, we have a full team of people to practice with. We still use ProQuest and RTN season as a way to test decks that we might want to play at a Pro Tour, to get in-person reps in an environment that has some stakes to it. You know how other people do that? Other people who don't have teams really would like to be able to use these other higher stakes local events to be able to practice for the thing that they're trying to qualify for, or the thing they've already qualified for. Like if they're going to Philly Worlds, for example, and they're hosting CC events and LL events that are going to happen to be at the Worlds that is local to them, that they're going to want to go test at. But now if they win their ProQuest, they're no longer allowed to use this as a testing environment, and they have to go find other people to test, but they don't have a team. Like, you're also screwing those people on
and you're screwing them twice, because you're also taking the people who already won the ProQuest and are actually going to be at the tier 4 out of the pool of people to test against when they go to play the tournament. Yeah. So not only like can they not test, but they also can't test against good people in the lead up.
Also, it's LL format for this PQ season.
It's like, it's so
we can't
weird.
use it to test or play LL. Like, if you win the LL event, you can't also play the CC events either. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
If you look at it like objectively, right? You're basically telling people you qualify week 1 on a CC tournament. Maybe you started playing the game like 6 months ago, a year ago. I was talking to like a bunch of people at Singapore and like the beach party and stuff that like have been playing the game for less than a year. So those people are going to tier 4s. and they have no experience playing against these LL decks of old. So they're gonna like play a CC ProQuest, get their invite to a Pro Tour, have to go back and buy cards from like 4 years ago and play on Talishar because they like can't test IRL.
Well, yeah, because there's of course no ways to play Living Legend in real life because Talishar is the only place anybody plays Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, and you're just like, I don't know. The whole card acquisition thing makes no sense for LL. I mean, I don't want this to spiral into LL bad, but like, it's very strange that they're doing all this at one time.
If we're assuming
we can't spiral it into LL bad.
Well, if we're assuming
the LL system is supposed to balance the game, you say, I mean, they've said it's not supposed to, but it's supposed to balance the game, and now it's just like not. It's like the way that your game rotates is based on how strong decks are and how competitive tournaments happen, and you're no longer allowing those tournaments to be as competitive as they're supposed to or as they can be.
I mean, I do think that's a good point. I agree with that as well.
Come on, what are we doing? Your whole OP system is built on ProQuest being competitive events. Like, why are we doing our best to move in the direction of these are no longer as competitive?
I also think it's a problem that
I would like an answer from them. Hopefully, I hope they do talk about it, because I hope they have a genius solution to why this actually makes sense.
I mean, I like the point about you go to an LL PQ, you win. You're no longer allowed to go into person and practice LL for Worlds. You just have to go play online now. You can't actually play in the Flesh and Blood like
which they don't want you to do, because
it's like more and more decisions are just like passively accepting that you have to test on Talishar or in our Discord for draft. Like that's just like legitimately how more decisions feel. It's just like passively saying you have to do this in order to.
I hope that means that Talishar gets one of these creator grants, because it's supposed to be based on like how much people benefit from them and how much they help the community, right?
Yeah,
because that's what the graphics said. That's what all the bullet points are. Those are all of the things that it's based on, right? There's no other things that it could possibly be based on.
There's no one that meets the criteria as much as Talishar, and we know it's not going to get granted.
Yeah, we all know that those are not the only criterion. There's a few bullet points they left off the list.
Based on this conversation, we're also definitely not going to get granted.
Of course, but we already know this. Whatever. Again, those criterion are not the thing that they're looking for. Mm-hmm. Anyway, do we want to talk about Singapore a little bit more?
Yeah, we can jump back to that if we have nothing else about this topic. I think we've obviously shown how we feel about the I will not, just to wrap it up, I guess. I will not deny that maybe this is a positive impact for some areas.
100%.
I don't know what those areas are or where they are. I can only talk about what I experience and the hundreds of Flesh and Blood players that live within a 2-hour radius of me that I see all the time, and how we will be experiencing it. And I'm sure there's some of those players are probably might be happy about this change until it happens to them where they win a tournament and can't play anymore. But for like the most part, it's just kind of sad that I if I win a tournament, I can't participate locally anymore. And most of the people I've talked to around here that, you know, have the same experience that I do going to ProQuests and RTNs feel the same way. Is that
I just think it's like a tragedy. Like, it's just like, I'm just sad. Like, I woke up and I we were in a meeting and like I saw this and my heart just sank. I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you too, guys.
Now, all this being said, I'm going to scrub out of every single ProQuest because all I'm going to be worried about is winning, and then
we'll never win another ProQuest.
And I complain this hard, and I am one of the least affected people by it because I have 5 PTIs. Like, I can legitimately just top 8 and just scoop every single event that I go to, and if I end up failing on the last couple and I'm not able to qualify that way, I just use one of my PTIs. Like, so I'm talking from a pretty privileged perspective on that way, and I want to acknowledge that exists. But at the same time, like, even with all of that said, I'm still very upset about the change because the change is unfair to people across the board. And I think it's a poor change for the game in general.
I think we should,
even though I can personally still benefit from it, I don't think that's like, that doesn't make it okay. You know what I'm saying?
We should see how it plays out, where if the people who do view it as a benefit based on their area or their, like, you know, experience in previous seasons, to see how they feel after the first few weeks. Cause, you know, it could end up being good, or they could end up regretting what they said before. We'll see. But yeah, there are certainly areas where it would be helpful. I don't think you saying across the board it's bad. Like there are certainly places where this could
Well,
be
the thing
a
is,
positive
there are
change.
certainly places where this is better than the system before.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not actually convinced that there are places where this is better than almost any other solution.
Oh, yeah,
Then
for sure.
top 4 gets an invite and just move on with your life. Yeah,
There's
I don't.
definitely better solutions that exist in a vacuum, but this could be better than the previous system. At least it's like a step horizontal or diagonally. It's not like a vertical improvement. It's like maybe slightly
And then
improved.
for some people, it's like it is vertical.
It's vertical in the downward direction. Yeah.
It just cracks me up. Everyone talking about how you just want to win gold foils. I'm like,
Bro,
literally,
I
no
also
one cares
haven't
about
seen-
gold foils.
I also haven't seen people actually complain about that. Like people are just arguing with the wall.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I would be fine if they removed that as a prize.
People are
I
big fans of
also,
arguing.
I always just like, I'll be like, I'll take store credit. You can have the gold foil. I don't want this thing. Like, it's just a paperweight for the most part. Like, but
now
yes.
what I do want, hold up, what I do want is that that overcrowded, I think it's called. That card's gonna be baller.
Oh yeah, that card's sick.
Yeah, I definitely want to at least.
Oh wait, yeah, there's real promos now,
Yeah,
and we don't
promos
even
are
get to
lit.
get them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lesser thing, but it's funny how they give promos away that you need 3 of in order to play, but now you can't actually play in enough tournaments to collect them all.
I was also joshing on ProQuest pricing. I apologize, LSS. You actually the last few weeks ProQuest pricing has been getting good.
Yeah.
So with that being said, now I'm angrier about this new change.
Yeah, like Swing Big and Overcrowded are both like nuts.
Yeah. I hope you don't win your first ProQuest so that you can actually get these cards.
Okay, wait. I have a question, like logistically. So, do you have to like confirm with your opponent that you're gonna concede, or can you just like click the I lost button?
Concede before they get a chance.
Yeah. Like the second you see the pairing pop up, you like spam. Is that a thing? Like, do they have to shake your hand and agree to concession or no?
I'm actually,
no idea.
I mean, I'm sure the judges are discussing it already because.
Oh, this will certainly happen. Yeah.
I'm sure. Do you think LSS like reached out to them and they were like, "Hey, just by the way, we're gonna do this thing. You guys got to figure out what the solution." Or do you think they were like, "Here's the solution that you're supposed to do"?
I don't know, but the solution is. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, Noah. Like, if 2 people end up in the finals and both people want to concede, then the actual ruling from judges right now is that the players play a game of Flesh and Blood, and the winner is the one who's allowed to concede. Because that matches the policy of games of Flesh and Blood can only be decided by games of Flesh and Blood, and you're deciding who gets to concede by a game of Flesh and Blood.
That feels like with the LL policy, like the rules just straight up contradict themselves, right?
Yep.
But that is a ruling from the judges.
Nailed it.
Yep.
10 out of 10.
So, in case you have to use that at your local ProQuest coming up.
Ooh,
cool.
We're doing
okay.
it.
Did you, Lucas, want to talk about some things that happened or anything that happened at Singapore?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I feel like wait one second. We gotta everybody pause, stretch for a second, grab a drink of water because more heavy topics. We're going from.
Tell us in the comments how stupid we are and how you disagree with everything we said.
Yes,
we love to hear it. Oh, speaking of which, let's inject some wholesome in the middle before we.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who came up and said hi at Singapore. Even though it was only a few of us, it's still awesome to have people come up and even just like if you're not a fan of the podcast, just everybody who comes up and chats and talks to me about things like that. I always love that. Especially when all my friends don't come with me. I need to make new friends. So thank you to everybody who made new friends with me. Gave me Token Anatomy on Facebook, anything like that. So thanks, guys.
Yeah. Shout out to the first time I've ever interacted with Nick Butcher at the beach party. He came up and you see this? You see the sweatshirt? This is like the color of his face after having like 27 beers. And he's like, "Bro, I fucking hate your podcast." So this is the first words he said to me. And I take that as a badge of honor that at least he watches it enough to hate it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Nice. All right. But yeah, so at Singapore, some people may know, some people might not know. I assume most people have heard the name Christopher Yali. He got second at Worlds the first year. He is consistently playing over on the West Coast on Team AGE, I believe. And he is a well-known and popular member of the community. And at Singapore, he was playing in the final round of draft at Exon 2. And he was playing against his opponent, and he ended up getting disqualified. I'm going to read a summary of the statement that he provided. It's not going to be word for word. It's just going to be going over kind of what happened, how the judge call transpired, and then kind of the results of that. And then we can talk about that afterwards. So Chris Yali is playing in his last round of draft. It is his turn. He attacks his opponent with Goldfin Harpoon. The Goldfin Harpoon hits, and Chris goes to remove a gold counter from Treasure Island, removing it from 2 down to 0 because he's dealt damage. That's when the opponent realizes that the Treasure Island is supposed to be at 1 because on the the Treasure Island is supposed to be at 1 because on the previous turn he had dealt damage and had removed the counter and made a gold. Chris believed that his opponent had missed this trigger and had not made the gold or removed the counter from Treasure Island, so they call a judge. The judge comes over and asks the players to give a brief explanation of the previous turn. The players start discussing the previous turn. Chris notes that the judge, perhaps somewhat rudely, intervenes and says, "I just want yes or no answers to my questions about the previous turn." So they begin going back and forth, kind of going over the turn, going over everything that happens. Chris chimes in at some point when the disagreement comes up. Basically, the opponent says when they hit, they remove the counter from Treasure Island and made a gold token. And Chris disagrees, believing that they missed this trigger. Chris suggests that they can rewind the whole game, as it's only been, by his estimation, probably only around 5 turn cycles, as it was pretty short, and they can probably just go through and figure out how much gold this player should have at this point. And then from there, they can determine whether or not the Treasure Island counter was missed and whether a rewind is necessary. The judge asked Chris if he knew that the trigger was missed, and Chris said that he thought it was a trigger that could be missed. The judge then asks Chris, well, what if it's a mandatory trigger? To which Chris responds that he believes that mandatory beneficial triggers can be missed. The judge then walks away without giving a ruling. Then one of the head judges for the event comes over. He asks both players to give an explanation. And while he's communicating with Chris, other than Chris's explanation for the situation, the only question he asked is how the opponent has been communicating their triggers throughout the game. I assume in an attempt to figure out whether or not they had deviated from how they would normally announce these triggers. The judge gives no further questions and walks away for a little while. Then the head judge comes back after a few minutes and asks Chris if another gold would be beneficial or important at this stage of the game. Chris at this point is a little bit confused at why he's being asked this question. I think he didn't really he gave me the impression that he didn't really understand exactly why this question was being asked or what it was trying to get to. And so he responded quite generically, an extra gold token is quite useful for all these heroes. Obviously, all of these, pirates can use gold. It's not irrelevant, right? It is a beneficial trigger. Chris at the time did not realize that what this judge was probably actually trying to get out of Chris was whether or not in the specific situation in the game they were in, that extra gold token would be relevant. Chris remarks that in this situation, he was at a very low life total. I believe it was around 2 or 3. His opponent was at around 5 or 6 with 3 cards in hand, a rigor mortis, and a chowder after all of this damage had already resolved. So anybody who actually plays Flesh and Blood knows that Chris is in a very bad, probably just completely losing situation. And so this extra gold on this Treasure Island isn't probably actually necessary and beneficial to the game. He at the time obviously did not realize that there was a disqualification at stake, or exactly what the judge was trying to get at. The judge leaves and then comes back after a while and rules that the opponent made a gold token off of Treasure Island that Chris saw, and that Chris took advantage of his opponent forgetting to remove the counter from Treasure Island, and thus he was cheating and he was disqualified. Chris attempted to appeal to the head judge, saying, hold on, we can rewind the game, right? We can, pleading with him, saying basically, what can I do to try and, prove my innocence? Obviously, I really believe that he missed this trigger. I believe it's a trigger he's allowed to miss. The judge dismissed him and basically said, we have a round that we have to start. Everybody else is done. My ruling is final. I'm not going to change my mind. I need you to come with me. I need you to clean up. We need to get the tournament moving. Chris also wanted to note that he felt brushed off repeatedly by the head judge and by the judges in general. He felt that he was not able to properly communicate with these judges, and that he was not really given a fair opportunity to advocate for and argue for himself. I spoke to the head judge at the event after the incident, after the tournament, and he said that he did try and make Chris feel like he was heard and like he had an opportunity to give his side of the story. So that, not sure exactly what that kind of communication looked like, but both parties allege those respective things. The judge also asked for a report from Chris, a written report to submit to LSS about the disqualification. Obviously, Chris believes that he was wrongly and unfairly disqualified. Chris asked this judge to read this report, basically saying, can you make sure that I got all this right? Can you make sure this looks good? The judge read this report and basically just gave it back to Chris, said, this looks good. Right. And Chris felt that was maybe another example of him being brushed off. I did talk to Chris's opponent for the round. I showed him Chris's statement and asked if he felt that there was anything inaccurate. And he said that he felt that basically everything that was said was accurate. Obviously, both players disagree on whether or not the gold counter was removed from Treasure Island and the gold was made. So that was the disqualification that happened in Singapore. My initial reactions reading this, and I think most pro players' initial reaction to this news, was that Chris is a very well-known, respected player who people know to play fair and play respectfully and who respects the game and its competitive integrity. And so we were quite surprised. And this is also a head judge who has had a past history of disqualifying people from events, and the community members feeling that it is perhaps unjust. I know there have been perhaps situations in the past where people have, gone to this head judge and felt that they were not able to kind of get a fair shake, and people have had investigations, into them after these such things. So, do you guys have thoughts on this? I know I've been kind of yapping for a while, but just an initial reactions to this kind of disqualification.
So the first, my gut reaction is that basically it feels like interacting with judges, and not every judge for sure, but some judges requires you to bring your notepad and have prepared responses for, if they ask this type of question, here's how I should interpret it, and here's how I should respond to give me the best chance at a favorable outcome. I think you talked about how him giving answers that are true often actually ends up in a worse outcome than just giving generic statements of, I don't know, it's hard to tell. I feel like giving more vague statements rather than being specific and honest for what you do know.
I think maybe with another ruling, which I don't know if we're going to talk about the naive thing today, but I think there it's true. I think here, honestly, the biggest issue that I'm seeing is Chris was just not actually able to advocate for himself almost at all. Mm-hmm. Right? This really feels like a situation, at least reading it, and from basically everybody I've talked to, this does sound like how the communication went down. The judges basically didn't ask Chris anything relevant. Right? They asked him some potentially leading questions that he didn't really understand the purpose of, and then had their own investigation. Also, something that I did not mention was that while the judges were away, they were getting back and talking to the opponent's previous opponents from the day before, talking about how he announced his triggers and whether or not he missed his triggers, which is feels like kind of a not good use of the judge.
I thought you left that out on purpose because that was the most ridiculous thing of all time.
No.
You're going to go back and consult his previous round opponents. Be like, all right, so how do you feel about this guy? Would you go out to dinner with him? Would you trust your kids babysit? Dude, what are these questions?
And
how is it in any way relevant?
Instead of just asking the player, because the other thing is, this is not a situation where the judges tried to figure anything out. Like they didn't even, at least what I'm reading, make an attempt to go through the game and just like figure out how many gold they were supposed to have. And if they did, they didn't have Chris in this process at all, which is completely unreasonable.
Well, I think it's just because it's sad that this is a mistake, but Chris made the mistake early on of him saying, yeah, you can miss beneficial triggers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when Chris says this at the beginning, I feel like it's just doomed. The whole interaction's over from then on. Because now the judge opinion is that Chris is trying to angle shoot to get an advantage and get his opponent to miss a trigger. Whereas if he just says, I don't know if the counter was removed or not, like I recall he made uh, 1 gold and then you try to reconstruct from there, as opposed to saying, yeah, you can miss beneficial
Well,
triggers. I assumed it was like that.
well, but the issue is that they made the, in order to disqualify him, they believe it's intentional. They believe it is cheating. And if they believe it is cheating, then they should say, "Oh, look at the game." Right? There, with a cheating investigation, there should always be some sort of, like, there has to be a motive, obviously. And it feels like the extent of the judge's interest in discovering motive was, "Hey Chris, is a gold good for pirate heroes?" You say yes, okay, cool. Come back and DQ you. That's not fair. Right? Chris was not actually given an opportunity to prove that there is essentially, not necessarily no, but there's not really an incentive in this opportunity to cheat maliciously in this way.
Okay.
So unless the rules, so to be fair, I don't know the rules well enough to know this, but unless the rules honestly are such that you are supposed to disqualify somebody for allowing your opponent to miss a beneficial trigger, not knowing that that is not how the rules are worded, then this just feels completely unfair. And if the rules are worded that way, then I believe it absolutely has to change, because that's not clear at all. It's not made clear to players that you're going to be disqualified if you knowingly allow your opponent to miss a beneficial trigger. Is this something we have precedent for? Right? Like, is this something that is ruled the same way every time? I can tell you it's not. I can tell you from personal experience, that's, people don't get DQ'd for that. So I think, at least looking in, I think Chris probably does have a case that he was unfairly disqualified based on the rules. But
yeah, I mean, I think, okay, I feel like disqualification is just crazy, like just a crazy step to even go to with this. Like they called over and essentially the judge call can be boiled down to this: Judge, there was 2 counters on Treasure Island. When I hit, I grabbed 2 counters. My opponent says there should only be 1 counter. We're not sure if there should be 1 or 2 counters. Like that's literally the entire judge call is like, can you figure out if it's supposed to be 1 or 2 or how we resolve this? And the answer to that question is you're disqualified because your opponent didn't take the die off.
So the biggest problem is Chris didn't say what you just said. He didn't say that. What you said is you've been trained on like FAB speak of how you have to talk to judges, which is basically, true, here's exactly what the game state is. How do we fix it? But that's not like natural, because maybe you do think that you know something about, you're not 100% sure, but you're trying to be helpful and like, oh yeah, I think maybe it should be at 1 because he may have missed it last turn. Like, instead of just being purely, here's the fact of the board state right now, help us figure it out. If you try to be helpful, it feels like you get punished.
I do agree with you. It should not work this way.
I agree.
It does work this way. If you say the wrong thing in a judge interaction, you will be disqualified. It just works this way. I have a lot of examples of people who this has happened to, where if they had just said something differently, they would never have been disqualified.
Well,
yeah.
I don't think it should not work that way. I'm not saying it should work. I'm just saying real life is this, right?
Well, I think part of it is also that the judge staff does not seem to make an effort to help the players in this sense at all. Like, it's
adversarial. Like, they should be helping them not get disqualified, but they're like coming and searching for something wrong and trying to like.
And there are good judges that do try and help people with this.
Absolutely.
But I can tell you, going to these events, there are a lot of judges who I just believe are not prioritizing players being able to communicate in the ways that they should be able to, and they're not prioritizing finding and resolving issues as much as they are prioritizing, maybe exactly what's in the rules and making sure that people are punished for things that aren't malicious.
I think they're too used to like Magic. Like Magic was very like disqualification heavy at certain points of time, but like we just don't really have a lot of those issues in FAB of like really blatant cheating like that, because we have like soft rerolls and rollbacks that like resolve a lot of the angle shooting issues that we used to have in the past. And it's like, it's just not necessary to come at every situation that hard. You also, it's like they don't take into consideration that talking to a judge is, for a lot of people, not only intimidating, but can be stressful as well.
For everybody, even for people like even me. Like I've been talking to judges since I was like 8, and my heart still beats so fast anytime there is any sort of judge call with stakes, because you just know that there's always that risk.
People are not always going to say the absolute right thing in the moment, and so like talking yourself into a disqualification really shouldn't be a thing. You should just either be disqualified or not. And the way that the situation looks like and how it should have happened is what should lead to a disqualification. It should be very, very hard to talk yourself into a disqualification, and you should kind of discount a lot of what is being said from by that situation. With all that said, it just doesn't work that way. This stuff should work differently, but it's like it's incredibly important to like I hear the story and I hear what was said, and I can't believe that any of these words were like uttered, because like the only thing that needed to be said was like what happened is like I attacked, I ticked this had a counter on it, I ticked it to 2, I hit, and then I took 2, but my opponent is saying that like it was only supposed to be 1 and I'm not sure.
Yeah,
like
exactly. It's that,
you know what I mean? Like I just don't understand, because like obviously he didn't just put a die on for 2 when he attacked with it. Like that's not part of the story at all. So the story is that he ticked from 1 to 2, which means that it passed with a counter on it. Like Treasure Island passed with a counter on it. So we have all of these as like agreed upon facts. So like something happened last round that left a counter on the Treasure Island. I don't, that's the only question. That's the only issue here is like, where'd that counter come from? Why is it still there? How do we resolve that counter existing? Also, it's weird that they didn't just come up and be like, oh, so he's supposed to do that? Okay, cool. So he gets a gold and this goes to 1.
Yeah.
And then like, did someone fight? Like, did someone fight it? Like, no, I want my 2 because he missed the trigger. Then that's like maybe a different type of ruling, but that doesn't sound like what happened either.
Remember, when the judge was called over, the judge started asking questions, and the judge did not rule on the situation. They went and got the head judge to investigate, presumably to investigate for potential malpractice before actually making a ruling on what the players were trying to figure out, which I guess is potentially because of how it was communicated, but I don't know, man. It's
just that stuff just shouldn't be like, I don't know. The judge staff, I think, should be instructed to disregard a lot of those words that are being said, because
at the very least, it's just what you said. Like, if you get disqualified, it should be because you cheated.
Yep.
And obviously, in this case, the judges did say that Chris cheated, but that has to come.
Your opponent missing a trigger and you cheated is just like, it's insane. Not like how this game works.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's because it's specifically Treasure Island, right, where it's like supposed to be shared responsibility.
Yeah.
Not
even a warning. Like I could see like,
okay, wait, I have a real question.
A warning.
I have a very real question. So like say I'm Chris in the situation. I see shit's getting dicey. Am I allowed to just pull out my phone and click I lose? I'm like, whatever, I don't want to argue anymore.
Like, no, they're still investigating the situation. You don't get the that doesn't do anything.
You're not allowed to just concede the game if
you can concede the game, but
they're gonna DQ you if you do that. I'm so
they'll just DQ you afterwards.
If you do that, they're gonna DQ you. They're not even gonna ask. Like they're just gonna assume that you're doing it because you're cheating. I think. At least that's. I've had a lot of situations with Flesh and Blood judges in the past where I've heard about disqualifications coming because players did something that made the judges kind of just feel like they might have cheated a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. Not all judges. I have interacted. I will say this: almost all of my personal judge interactions have been phenomenal. Like I've not had issues.
Most of the bad experiences I've heard have come with head judges at majors.
Yeah, to be fair, but some judges out there come to the table expecting cheating has happened, and you essentially have to convince them that there was no cheating for them to just go into ruling mode.
Mhm.
It's just like they come in and they're just like, their first anticipation is like, maybe someone here cheated. Let me investigate that first, and then I'll work backwards.
What if we put something in the judge
It's a
program
bit too aggressive.
to make the judges play the game? Because I think there is a big problem right now where the fact that none of the judges ever have any idea what's going on. Sorry, that was a lot. That was a lot.
It's a little too
Let's
far.
walk it back, man. Jesus, I'm getting too excited.
There are plenty of
The
judges
fact
who
that
play
there
the
are
game.
some judges
Yeah.
who do not
Yeah.
play the game means that a lot of the time there are situations that are intuitively understandable by flesh and blood players. Like I described the situation Chris was in earlier. Dude's dead. Like he's so dead. Like he's very dead. Right? He's in a terrible position. A second gold off of Island is not going to win him the game. It feels very easy to explain to somebody that these kinds of things are not malicious. But the judges, because...
Okay, wait.
Go
One
on.
sec. I have counterpoint quickly.
Okay.
Like, why'd you go dark mode? Okay. The second gold off of Treasure Island, yes, well, it may not win him the game.
I know
Surely
it could do. I know.
if you're in a position where you view that your situation is dire, then it suggests trying to do anything you can to win.
I don't disagree with that statement. I'm not saying that necessarily there's no benefit to be gained. What I'm saying is that in this situation, it feels like there are arguments to be made in Chris's defense, but it feels like the crucial part of whether somebody gets disqualified or not is normally whether or not they did something malicious, right? Whether or not they did something on purpose. And that's a judgment call that you have to make with all the facts. Like you cannot make that judgment call without any context on the game and without talking to Chris. Like if the judge had spoken to Chris about this and then he had come to the conclusion that he could have gained something beneficial, that'd be one thing. But the judge asked Chris kind of generally, could this be beneficial? Chris gave what seems like a half-assed answer, right? Just like a generic answer. The judge did not investigate the game, did not look any further, and just kind of took that at his word and ran with it. And to me, that feels irresponsible, at least from the outside looking in. Obviously, I wasn't there. I don't know how it was communicated, but this is kind of a vibe that I've gotten from a lot of judge interactions in the past. And this is something that feels like it's starting to become a pattern where people are assuming things are a certain way based on a situation that they don't fully understand. And that feels problematic personally. I'm not saying that necessarily every judge has to constantly play the game, but if judges are just ignoring context and not trying to get the full context because they maybe don't play the game, whether that's the reason or not, it just feels like that's a part of the judge program that surely needs to be improved.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree. I think there needs to be some improvement here. This is not how it should work. I think disqualifications should be like, especially on like, you're at Singapore Pro Tour. Like, you traveled all this time.
Yeah.
Like, if you get this wrong,
the last round of draft, very live to top 8.
If you get this wrong, it's just like, it's so wrong. It's so devastating that like, you got to have like really good proof.
Yeah.
Like it can't just be coming in half cocked to get this type of disqualification. Someone's got to review this like in time as well. But I know that's like incredibly difficult because you don't want to step on the toes of other judges, because that's how you get invited to all the judges stuff. There's a lot of politicking that goes behind the scenes. So I don't actually think that solution would probably work.
Yeah, it wouldn't work concretely, but that's because of judge program problems.
Yeah.
Because there's
also, by the way, you mentioned before about like judges playing the game. I think there's actually a rule on that. Like a judge has to play an armory every month. I don't know where I heard that, but that nugget of information is in my head.
I don't buy it. And if they do, then I'm absolutely sure that some of them do not. If
someone knows in the comments where I got that information, then feel free to post it.
I don't. It's tough.
They definitely don't follow the spirit of it. I can tell you.
A lot of the judges are just doing the best they can, and they're doing a good job.
And we love you.
And those are
I want to say, you don't have to play Flesh and Blood every week to be a judge. I love most of the judges. I'm just saying, if you don't play the game, that cannot be a reason not to try and get full context on the game.
It's just
when such an important decision is on the line.
Yeah, it's just like the really big situations need to be relooked at before like those triggers are pulled. Like there's just, I think, and maybe some other things should happen before a full DQ. We seem to have this weird thing that happens in this game where we just go like straight to full DQs quite often. Like not game loss, not massive warning, not like just give him a game loss and move on with your life.
If
Like,
you want to
why is
him,
it? Why do we always go to full DQ? If it's a gray area, you're like thinking about DQing him a little bit, and you're just like, oh, it could be like a DQ situation. Just give him a game loss and move on. Like, if it's like blatant, then give him the DQ. But like, why don't we? You never hear about game losses from judges. It's just always straight to DQ.
If tournament efficiency is really that deep, then just give him a game loss and have the investigation in between rounds. Like if it's really that deep. If it's so deep that you're willing to cut your investigation short to make the tournament go faster, you can let that person play an extra damn round. Like, it's just another example of it. It feels like perhaps Flesh and Blood is feeling less and less communal and less in good spirits than it has in the past.
Oh, dude, I still like this game, all right? We can't have people thinking I don't like the game.
Yeah, true.
The game's great.
It's like, I love the game. I love most of the judges.
That's why we care.
That's like, please, I love this game. Please stop. Like, why can I not hang out with my friends? Like, why can I not tell the judge the truth? Like, why are you going to DQ me because I misunderstood something and you didn't give me enough time to explain myself? Like, come on.
Can we just have like, I just want a barrier between like DQ, like on gray area stuff. Just give the game loss, like, and move on with the life. Like, it's still a punishment. It's still a deterrent. It ends things. If it's really egregious, like they were like lapping cards or something, then yeah, give them the DQ, right? But like, there should have to be some like it shouldn't just be a judgment call on if you DQ someone or not. There should actually be evidence of cheating.
Yeah. I'm curious.
It should be required for a DQ, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, unbelievable.
So, I don't know. Okay. Anything else before we move on to podcast questions?
Yeah, just about the one more positive thing about the whole like beach party thing at the end. That was like super cool. They should do that at every major. They should have like some celebration thing where like everybody gets there. Because like literally not obviously everybody at the who played in the tournament was there, but almost all like the LSS people were there for a time. It was like a really cool way of just like bonding with the community as a whole. We were like playing volleyball. Like Lucas was embracing his inner child, diving into the pool.
I was having so much fun. Obviously I've kind of been dogging on you guys all podcasts, but like LSS through and like community wise, I loved Singapore. I felt like I was making so many new friends and being able to enjoy the game with other people and in new ways that I haven't been able to in the past. And something like the beach party, obviously it doesn't have to be like a literal beach party, like a pool party every time, but like just some sort of kind of communal Sunday shindig where everybody gets to hang out. I know they've done that for some smaller events in the past, so I would love to see this continue to happen.
And they charge $10 million, so clearly people are willing to pay. It's not like a money thing.
Sweet. Next is going to be podcast questions. These are asked by premium members of our Metafy. If you would like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, find the 3 deck lists with sideboards we put out every single month. I actually just threw up a new room before we did this recording called Proto Lists, where people from the team just throw up lists that we've worked on, we've done a little work on. For example, my Vinset list I've been talking about that, it's like tri-attack Vinset list that's trying to do everything that I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. I threw that list in there with a couple of sideboards for people to be able to play if you want access to things like that, as well as discounts on this very expensive game that we play as the products keep getting more and more expensive from Gilded Raven Games, which we get a discount code if you sign up for any of the sponsorships. Feel free to join in the link below. That was a long one.
Oh wait, actually,
I had a lot of things to say
on the Gilded topic too. David Lee did like insane at the tournament.
He did.
Oh yeah,
he was like place behind Naive twice.
Before we go any further, the Runaways were not just me and Noah. Peter Berdensik also top 4 the calling, and Naive not only got 14th in the Pro Tour, but also won the Battle Hardened, both with Ira in 2 different formats. So I would encourage people to check out both of those lists online. They're both super sweet. And so, yeah, we're very proud of Peter and Naive for their finishes over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we tried to have Naib on, but he is still in Singapore.
He is still a potato.
We will get him on eventually to talk about his double ireless and his experience overall as well. Okay, first here from Millen. What was that?
No Kadachis across either deck.
Yeah, in neither format were there Kadachis present.
True. Millen asks, what kind of generic equipment would you like to see released next? None. I don't care about generic equipment.
Oh, really? Okay, I would love to see like another generic offhand that like does something interesting.
Oh, sure. I agree. I would like to see the slot filled, but
because right now it's basically like you have Lantern, you have
Bloody Dovel,
the Shield, and that's basically it.
Yeah. Yep. It does feel it does feel weird that there's like reasonable generic options for every slot, and that's an increasingly real slot that just like nobody actually has access to.
Yeah, like we have defensive, we have arcane defensive. We need like one kind of like proactive offhand. I think would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. How broken do you think like Cracker Jacks on an offhand would be?
+1 for 2.
No. Just free. It's just like your next thing gets +1. You just pop it once.
I don't know. It's just like a power creep that probably is unnecessary.
Interesting.
It depends on you. I don't know. It would be cool. I would like that it existed. I think it would be very strong in like Vincent, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Renzo asks, question regarding the next BNR. What should be banned? What do you want to be banned? Is there anything that should be unbanned? And what would you like to be unbanned? So basically, what do you think about the next BNR?
No changes for all questions.
I would love if they banned Chum. Just like thinking about a world where like we get Guardian Mastery Pack. We're cooking. We're making so many seismic surges. We got 6 of them hoes. At the start of the turn, they pop. Opponent activates Chum. Oh, okay. Yeah, good game.
To be fair, I think it's interesting, at least looking at Valda, it feels like she probably just like dumpsters Gravy on like every turn of the game.
Outside of Chum.
And then like the Chum turns, she gets dumpstered. And that's like the whole game.
Exactly.
It's just like how good are the Chums?
That's like how Chum works in almost every matchup, I feel. Like he just has turns where he can swing the game so drastically.
Yeah.
Like we saw actually, there was a turn where Tom Escoffier, maybe I'm saying that too French, but whatever. He plays like a Savor Bloodshed into a Chum, and the opponent is able to activate it, and then he ends up just like basically wasting his whole turn killing the Chum because he had to lead on the Savor Bloodshed, which is just like a unfortunate aspect of most of your deck is not interacting with Chum in this manner. Like you have 3+3 pretty easily, but then like you have this one card and now you have to play completely differently.
I feel like that's just
sort of cool.
Card design, yeah.
It's sort of cool that it's like a balancing factor, but most of the interactions are kind of unbalanced, as well as just like the rate. I don't know. They designed most of the other allies that are good that you have to pay money to swing them, and then him just like working with dead threads to be able to swing for free. It just, I don't know. He's too good in all aspects of what he does.
I mean, I kind of see that. I've had different experiences with Chum. I do like when I'm playing Slippy to try and bait them into using Chum when I plan on killing them anyway. I'm just like, here's a thing. And I'm like,
yeah,
please activate Chum so that I can get an extra card from your hand.
That was what I was trying to say very poorly with the Savor Bloodshed example of like sometimes like you're baiting them when you play the Savor Bloodshed. Sometimes you get owned and it's like hard to know what is what. A little bit of just guessing. But I guess they like variants, so.
I'm still in the camp that I don't think anything from Gravy needs to be banned.
Yeah.
But I can see them doing it if they don't want the game to function the way that it's going to be functioning.
Yeah.
So until some other things come out that are stronger, the game is basically like, can you beat Gravy? If you can beat Gravy, then your deck's actually good and you can 100% just play it. That's just the whole meta right now. Yeah. But there's enough decks that do that the meta is like actually interesting with that as the caveat. It's just like, but people need to everyone needs to get on board with the step 1. You need to be able to beat Gravy. Stop trying to go to step 2 where you're trying to beat the decks that beat Gravy. Like, don't do that. Like, your tournament sucks if you do that. Like, just ignore that that's even a possibility. Just step 1, play a deck that beats Gravy. Step 2, actually enjoy the meta. Like, that's the case. And Gravy will fall in like some of its performance across the board if more people adopt the step one of I have to beat Greavy.
It's just like Illusionist that has so much game into all of its bad matchups.
Yes.
Right. It's just like Illusionist that is clearly not one of the best decks. Like if that makes sense.
It also has a pretty good mirror match. Like sometimes it can get snowbally, but like we saw many times on the stream games where it seemed like one player was kind of down, they were able to swing it back with good play or like seeing a little bit of playing into the good variance kind of thing. So I think that's another reason why it'll just continue to be pretty popular, because the mirror is actually good.
I actually think Gravy is a really good competitive deck balance wise. I just think it's like kind of feels bad at a casual level because it's just completely broken. And there's also the feels bad of like most high skill decks in Flesh and Blood are high skill because you're playing on both sides, and Gravy's literally just Yu-Gi-Oh. Like you're actually just like you're actually just playing your own cards.
Yeah, you never put your cards sideways unless you're tapping them.
Yeah, like you are forced to, and there's a little bit of Flesh and Blood to be played, but most of it is just like, okay, I'm sequencing this the right way. I'm maximizing my offensive value. I'm making sure that I get all this stuff right.
But just as like another point, if you took all of like the pro tour stats and you took like the calling stats and you looked at like Gravy's win rate against top decks in the meta, it was like pretty fair. Like it's like 40% into Syndra, it's like 50% into Slippy. And I think the Slippy match can go either way. Like you can skill it a little bit more into your favor if you're the Gravy player. You can also just put more tech in if you're Slippy to make the matchup like way more comfy as well. So like that stuff's fair. It's like down to like below Dory, obviously, because like Dawnblade is like an issue. And there's several other decks that like its win rate's just like up or down depending on what it is. But then you look at everyone who brought like Victor and like other generically bad like decks like that, or that are trying to attack the meta in a different way, and they're like 100% win rate into these decks. And of course, if like too many people are bringing these like other decks that can't do step one, which is beat Gravy, like Gravy's win rate's insane because it's literally like 100% into Victor, which is, you know, these type of, that's like where the real power of the deck comes. But if those decks aren't being played and only decks that have a decent matchup and Gravy are being played, then like Gravy's win rate will go way down. It'll be harder to play the deck as well. It's just, do people get on that board, right? And or does LSS even want that to exist where it's that format warping? Because it really is that format warping. But if people don't opt in to the format, then Gravy will just dominate. Like, because it'll just be like, oh, I'll flip coins or be behind against aggro decks, and then I'll just 100% everything else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm fine with either one. If LSS says we don't want to live in that world and they nerf some things to make it not be that way, I understand. If they say no, just deal with it, just play decks that beat this deck, there's plenty of decks that do, then I can accept that as well.
I'm kind of just sad that we never got like a balanced Gravy. Like I feel like that hero would be really sick if it was like kind of not that good. Unfortunately, he's just like completely unreasonable. Unlucky.
Sure. I just wish I would be fine with his power level going down if he wasn't so susceptible to like Mask of Momentum decks or something. You know what I mean? Like if there was a way to make him so that like he could actually play a real game against them, but his overall power was lower, I'd be fine with that as well. It's just he has to play this way to have a chance against those type of decks.
That's fair.
Yeah. Christo C asks, do you think Gravy power needs to go down a notch? Having in mind that he's taking an expansion slot next set, 31 expansions is almost all of the legal heroes. Most will probably get their spec for each one. What's your personal thought on that? I think we covered a lot of that for Gravy. Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I hope if he gets a new expansion slot card that's good, Super Slam better be a hell of a drug. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, you can't play. You can't play most of those heroes. They don't beat Gravy. So
yeah. I really think that the Guardian Seismic Surge game plan is super interesting in the Gravy if Chum doesn't exist, though. Like, that would just be, like, a nice limit. Maybe even, like, limit Chum to 1. Like, okay, you get to do it 1 time per game. You have, like, a skip turn. Normally, I hate these kind of things, but I could see it being at least fine in this case.
Well, the other thing is that limiting cards in Gravy is, like, a more effective balancing mechanic than it is in, like, almost any other hero. Whereas in most other heroes, it's, like, it just kind of increases the variance of it. With Gravy, since so many of your games, you like see so much of your deck, it's like a tangible loss that's kind of felt equally across most games.
Also, if you limit like an ally,
that
means like every ally you put in your deck in a Gravy deck you're either losing the game before you get to play it, or you're playing it. Like
Yeah.
you don't have other options for what to do with them.
Mhm.
You can never block with them. So it's a little bit different than like other limited cards where it's like sometimes you block with your
Yeah.
soul reaping or whatever.
Yeah. Indeed. You also have Call to the Grave.
Yeah, exactly. So you still have 4 copies of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Tweedle asks, is Katsu a real deck, or is it just trying to farm gravy like every other aggro deck?
why not both?
Yeah, I think Katsu's good.
I think Katsu's
It's hard.
abysmal. Like,
Do you?
as long as Slippy is a deck, the fundamental of Katsu is you require, outside of one specific turn where you pop all your equipment and you have the natty 3 combo line in your hand, which just doesn't happen in a lot of games, you're always requiring to use 5 cards to actually execute powerful combos.
And a hit.
And Slippy just doesn't let you do that.
Yeah, but aggro decks are bad into Assassin. Like, we know this. This has always been the case.
No, that's not always true though. Like sometimes you're like, for example, Ira can play on like many different like sizes of hands into Slippy.
I just don't count Ira as an aggro deck.
Dude,
It's
watch
just not an
the
aggro
Calling
deck.
Finals and come back to me then.
I've watched the Calling
Yeah,
Finals.
that deck was fast. Zip zap boom. Dead.
Yeah, he plays like even
I
bigger
mean,
than that and stuff.
you know what was really fast? Censor. Censor was really fast. Just
But he
continually
made
calling
Censor
cock
fast,
over and
bro.
over again.
He did the technology. He made the quicken token. He made the Censor go speed.
Indeed. And Michael Fang could not deal with the speed of just.
He cannot deal with the censor.
Cannot-
He had -1 card the entire game.
I just don't know why. Yeah.
What's
Indeed.
up, man? Get it off your chest.
It's okay.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I just don't count Ira as an aggro deck. Just
Okay.
not
I just
how
when I think
play.
of Katsu, I think it's like so close to Ira in terms of like the card pool that I would just much rather play Ira now because it like you lose access to exactly like Surging Whelming, but most of the other cards are pretty much the same.
Not really, but I mean, Ira is trying to play 2 to 3 card hands and occasionally go big almost at every matchup.
I think it's just like a more effective strategy than what Katsu's trying to do.
Yeah, Katsu is trying to like hold their whole hand and go off.
Yeah, that's just like
turn.
not real.
Yeah, they're not playing like 2 for 6.
But that's also not real
all
in the
of that.
gravy either. Like holding your whole hand and going off. Like they play 3 Loot the Hold, they play 3 Conqueror. Like they turbo through their deck. Even into that matchup where you're theoretically able to keep a hand, like you can't always do it. And you still are reliant on hits, right? Like if you're sending on hits into allies, sure it's good, but like sending a Whelming into Rigor Mortis is not like, sure you get your draw, but it's not like that crazy.
I mean, it is if you like draw a Surge, grab the next thing, and then just like go off, and they have to.
But it's no longer crazy. It's just like good. Like you're still sacking 3 value. It just becomes like a good turn. Like it's 20 damage.
Well,
but it's not
it
like
means
demolishing them.
Sure, it means you can more consistently force them to block your on hit that turns off their hero power.
Yeah,
forever,
true.
Which is kind of the whole game plan. And then they have to take all the damage leading up to that.
It just seems like you're trying to get in the mech suit, bro. Like it's a meme. Like you're trying to do like this super complicated game plan when you can just do a much simpler game plan and still achieve more victories.
I don't know. You got to play some Katsu. It just happens so often. Like you just get a 30 damage turn like so often.
Yeah, I was talking about more
nothing
about
happens.
The dishonor thing, like actually resolving the full dishonor line and hitting.
Oh, it's like, hitting. It never hits. It's not about hitting. It's about the fact that they have to hold their hand for that last one. They have to take all the pieces before it.
Okay.
So you just deal like infinite damage while they're holding their hand, and then you play dishonor and they block.
Okay. You could just like play humble and they still have to block.
Sure.
So simple. You put the card here and you put the card there and they still have to block. You don't need
I'm not saying Ira is a bad deck. I like Ira. I think it's a pretty good deck. I'm just saying that like I also think Katsu is a real deck and it's going to take some time to figure out, but like the power is there in the deck.
Yeah.
Whether the meta allows it to experience its power in a way that it can do often enough, I'm not sure. But what it has now is insane.
It's true.
That's my point on
Okay.
Katsu. Okay. Shane asks, is Gravy S tier asking for a friend?
Yes.
Currently,
I wasn't on the episode when y'all were fools and
we would never have allowed this to happen.
Wait, you weren't on it either, Lucas?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. Y'all are
Connor and Fino and Dan and Cody were on this episode.
Yeah.
I think Connor tried, but he failed.
Fino tried. He's been saying
Fino definitely tried his best.
I'm completely fine with it being
I think it's.
I still could make an argument for A tier personally,
I
but
think it's clean.
S tier is fine.
I think it's cleanly S tier because the meta that will exist does not exist.
Yeah, it doesn't hate it.
Cody,
I agree.
I think you're right that the meta will be warped around Gravy, but folks are still bringing Victor. It doesn't matter whether or not they're allowed to bring Victor.
I can reiterate that I think you're right. It is S tier because people are not willing to do step 1. Play a deck that
Flesh and Blood. People are never willing to not play bad decks.
Yeah.
He's got open burdens.
Exactly. What
all the Verdance players thought they had done step 1. None of them had completed step 1.
Dude, I got 43 0'd. Come on,
man. Cooney asks, I spun the wheel and it says it's Ira time. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Can absolutely be right. I think Ira's a good deck.
Mm-hmm. Also, Shoma's my new favorite player, by the way. I was telling everyone this weekend. I really enjoyed watching. I was standing behind him watching some of his games in the calling too. He just I don't know. He's lit outside the game too. He's party guy. Always
he just kept walking up and he was like, "Cheers." Yeah, I won the calling.
Breaks out dancing with the sunglasses at midnight.
Hell yeah.
And then also when he plays, he's just razor focused, locked in. I've never seen someone more locked in on the plays, always making the right plays.
He's pretty resilient. I mean, he went 1-4 in PT in CC, and then turned around and was like, nah, play it in the calling and win. No question. Nah, I still brought the right deck. Go to the calling and win.
Yeah, he's lit, dude.
So, agreed. Wardo77 asks, with roughly 2 weeks until the release of Mastery Pack Guardian, is there anything exciting you as a player with this release is considering for the state of the meta?
Valda look very good.
I still haven't seen most of the cards in the set, so I have no idea.
There's a card that was spoiled while we've been recording.
There's a good new card.
Did you see it, Cody?
No, I've not.
Dude, this card's unreal.
There's a class.
It's actually unreal that they printed a card like this. I'm having to contain myself with the level of hype.
It's called Clash of whatever Noah's about
to say. What did I get to say, Fu? I brought it up.
No. Let Noah say.
You got to read the whole script earlier.
Unlucky. Go ahead.
Okay. Who cares what it's called, by the way? That's just so irrelevant. It's called a name of a card. It's a 4 cost, 7 attack, 3 block, guardian attack action. When this defends, has no offensive ability.
It's yellow.
Yeah, who cares? When this defends, clash with the attacking hero. The winner destroys an aura the other hero controls. So your opponent has a Genesis on board. You pop their Herald and clear their Genesis, and then tell them to have a nice day.
Does Clash trigger if you pop?
Yep.
You never played the
Clash of Agility in KO?
Yeah, Clash of Agility KO style. It's so nice.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, this card's unreal, right? It clashes, which means it can trigger some of your effects if you're playing the Thunk type effects, and you're killing their aura, which typically is something that takes cards plus action points and popping, and it's just an on-rate card. It's never embarrassing to play on offense as a pummel target.
It's not embarrassing.
I'm saying it's on rate. Typically, when they make these kind of cards, they'll make it 5 power, or it can't be 5 in this case, but they'll make it some material disadvantage in order for the power spike. But this one's just an on rate card.
Yeah,
I guess because it's a majestic.
Yeah, if auras are relevant, then this card is good.
But auras are relevant. It kills anything. You can kill a rune chant. No matter what, you're getting 4 value on defense for nothing.
If you win the clash, and you don't lose one of your auras, because you're gonna have auras, right?
Okay.
Depends on the deck you're playing. I think this is a very powerful sideboard card that cleans up a lot of Guardian's holes. But in general, I'm just excited for Valda because make many surge go pow pow is so cool. I don't know, some of these cards are ridiculous.
I think all the 6 for 10s are super sick, where you can on the first turn do Anathos with your chess piece, make a surge, do Anathos for 6, and then heave your big 6 for 10, and then boom, you just throw 10 dominate, dude. It's back when Oldham used to run all the red 6 for 10s. That was sick. Your opponent's dead in 4 turns if they don't block.
Yeah.
And they can't when you're dominating.
I do like all these cards. They just it has to hit step 1, which is beat Gravy.
I
You
think
just need a ban chum, man. Then
Yeah.
we'll be lit.
I think the Gravy matchup will be interesting because obviously Vald is going to trigger many times, and
Yeah.
she has this huge fridge, and obviously Gravy is not very good at blocking, so he's going to have some D-react blowouts and 3 chums, and probably just take like a million damage every other turn of the game. So I think in theory, if a Guardian is going to be beating Gravy, this is how we do it. So let's cross our
Yeah.
fingers and
Like
hope
if
it's
Gravy
reasonable.
draws, like you saw on the stream, most of the times players could like balance a justice on like at least half of their opponent's
Mhm.
turns in the mirror match. So if they're ever drawing like 2 to 3 cards, like they're basically just giving you one of those cards.
Yeah.
With the surges. That's crazy value.
And just
I
every
agree.
turn, all your stuff is dominated.
Yeah. I'm not sure the dominator is going to end up being super relevant into Gravy, but
Surely it is though. Just closing games is like you throw
closing the game, yeah.
you just throw like thing with hit trigger that they would normally block with cards. You throw Spinal Crush.
I don't know. I just want to see more.
That's still a card. Still
Yeah,
a
we
thing.
are going to see more hopefully in like the next week or two.
Yep. It's just hard to answer until I've seen more.
But I don't know.
of the
I've like
stuff.
put together some rough drafts of the deck, and like I think it already makes like a decent amount of sense. Like the new yellow card that makes the 3
Card's
surges
completely
in
broken.
tandem with the shield is like so insane.
Yeah.
I'm down. I've played a lot of Guardian in my time. King of Mice asks,
What a name.
based on the Battle Harden that went with the Pro Tour, do we start to get an idea of what LL meta looks like, or is this still up in the air? Also, are Starva and Chain bad now with LL? No, that
These battle hardens have never and will never mean anything to the LL meta.
no.
There was
That was just like what
one
people had
event
with them.
where it mattered, and that was because there was 8 Starvos, and 8 is a lot.
Yeah, these are literally just like the people who played in the tournament were people who brought decks, and that's basically it. Or people who could just like scrounge for cards. Like Brody played a crazy like belittle
Gravy deck with belittle
Gravy with like cash in and stuff. It's just like whatever, just like throw something together. It sounds fun.
Yeah. That being said, I do think that the LL meta will be very interesting as it shapes up, but I don't think that this event is too much.
I do think Chain is bad now, but I don't think Starvo is.
Yeah, I think this event also just like it was kind of cool how diverse the top cut was, just giving people ideas for when they're trying to prep for their LL events coming up.
Indeed.
Yep. Big Hungry says, it looks like Worlds is only LL and CC based on the graphic. Do you think this is a net positive or negative? I do want to clarify that has not been announced yet. It's just that the graphic just said those two things, but it has not been confirmed. But it is believed that is probably true.
I was talking to some people at Singapore, and my take on it is it seems like Super Slam is this casual focused set where it's kind of like a perfect storm where like they wanted to introduce LL as a competitive format, and they also wanted to try not having draft for a major because this is something that people have talked about in the past. And then they also wanted like a set to help casual players enter the game. And then they also wanted to make a limited set that could actually target casual players. And this is the way to do it, is just to make Super Slam not be playable for any majors.
Do you think that Super Slam is actually a good entry point for casuals, though?
I have
feel like a
no
lot of
idea.
those cards are super complicated.
I have no idea, but I'm saying that it looks and feels like a set that is at least thematically designed towards more. I mean, it's coming out at the same time as like Smash Palace and Mastery Pack Guardian and stuff like that. So it feels like we're kind of in this like era of like casual driven, fun loving, like environment community driven product
Oh
release.
no, don't bring up community and fun. We can't be having that, man.
Exactly.
Can't be having fun.
Only some
or
people are allowed
community.
to do that.
Well, you can have as much fun as you want until you win a ProQuest.
True. I don't know. I don't know about that. It does. I don't know. I was fine with LL in Worlds. I don't know. I gotta go to the drawing board and see if I can play Chain or not. I just personally feels like they told me not to play again. They banned my stuff.
Based on the fact I did terrible at draft at the last thing, it seems like it's a positive for me now. It would also be really cool if like the way the LL meta shapes out that like there actually is some busted version of gravy, because like making gold and casting cash in
It's kind of broken.
sounds kind of insane, right?
Yeah.
Like you have so
Yeah.
many small cards, like
But
belittling for Minnowism in a deck that can actually use like
Well,
multiple blues in a turn.
I also saw Brody go belittle, reveal golden tipple, search yellow Minnowism, golden tipple, discard yellow Minnowism, and my mind was blown.
Yeah. You follow that up with a cash in,
Oh yeah.
then you like follow it up with a conqueror. You're just like, you go nuts, dude.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
That sounds sick. So yeah, that would be cool if that ends up being like a good deck in both formats.
I don't know. I'm still excited to explore LL. So I'm still at that stage where it's like, I want to explore this format. It's a little hard without both sets out currently because that stuff could change, but you could still play it. And I still need to go to the lab and see if I can cook up some chain deck because I'm just hoping I can get in there. But if I can't, then there's other things to play.
Indeed.
Yeah, there is literally every hero.
True. Cool. Anything else before we go? Nope. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this wasn't too big of a downer, but let me know what your comments and thoughts are.
Sorry.